We'll talk about Liverpool in a second, but there's no question that was the worst performance under Arteta, by a distance. And those statistics, Dion, don't make very good reading for Arteta when you bear in mind the stick that Arsene Wenger got towards the end. And Unai Emery, it unravelled quite quickly. It does make you wonder where Arsenal go from here, doesn't it?
It does, because I still am in the Arteta corner where I think, you know, he's changing this club and this team slowly. They're getting to where they need to be. They're becoming stable. And then you watch a performance like that and you think, I don't know what they're doing. They're not stable and he's not changing things.
No, and they're as flaky as they ever have been.
Because if you watch the individual performances of a mistake, it's like the old Arsenal, you'll think to yourself, oh, yeah, that's what they like and that's what they do. They always fall apart. Soft underbelly. They've got no backbone, no captain. That is exactly what they showed at the weekend. That was just woeful. Liverpool weren't even very good. Liverpool didn't have to be very good.
I found that a hard watch. You know,
terrible.
As a neutral. The day before, I'm seeing Aubameyang rock up with his brand new haircut, and I'm thinking, right, please don't have a bad game.
No.
Please don't give the likes of me a chance to criticise your performance because of your haircut. And not just him. There was players not even trying, Mark. You know, Arteta said after the game, and I think the guy said in commentary that he looked stunned, his eyes were glazed over, because you couldn't believe what you were watching, because as Dion said, we've not really seen this. We've seen them lose games, but there's a manner and a way to lose a game. But we could see the path that his team were on. They're going to be hard to beat. They're not quite where he wants them to be. You need to give them time.
But they're getting there, aren't they?
They need a couple of transfer windows. But some of the players just looked disinterested. They weren't up for the fight when you need to dig in. Even when you go 1-0 down, there's a chance for you to get back in the game. You're wearing the shirt of Arsenal. You're carrying that badge. A lot of them just went, there'll be another game next week.
You know, when you lose a game like that, as a player, if I was an Arsenal player and Don was in the same side, you would expect confrontation from a teammate.
In the dressing room afterwards?
Yes.
Half time.
You'd expect players pointing at you, the manager pointing at you, assistant manager, players. What are you doing when you expect it back? I don't see any of that kind of body language from Arsenal players at all. It's accepted. It's weak.
What do you make? And it's not. This is not particularly aimed at Arteta, because all managers are like this now. What do you make of managers these days going, my fault, my responsibility, I sent them out, my fault? I
can understand it, because he's taken the pressure off his team. You know, it's different whichever corner you want to stand in.
Because across North London, of course, the different thing is happening. So that's the interesting
but who's right and who's wrong?
Well, that's why I'm asking you as a player, what do you think of that?
It doesn't really matter, because the players know, Mark. When the managers give you it after the game, and he's absolutely slaughtered you after a game, and then he stands in front of the press guys and says, it's all my fault, players know, because he's already given you the rollicking. So you know it's not his fault. It's your fault because you haven't put a shift in.
Do you think he would have done? Do you think he would have given them a rollicking?
I think in some of the words and the language that he used, which we can't use, his team never had enough fight.
No.
They didn't have what was needed to try and compete with Liverpool. And that's what you can't have, Mark. If you're competitive and you really try, and the players, by the way, were lucky there was no fans in the stadium, because at the end they wouldn't have been in the stadium, the fans. They would have left. So, you know, players know. Players know when it's their fault.
I think he's trying to implement the right ethics. I think he's trying to do things the right way. He just doesn't have the tools that are willing to run around, break a nose, sweat.
Ceballos is not an Arsenal player.
Kit.
So what does he do? Because Arsenal haven't got enough money to change them all.
See, going back to your question, Mark, if Arteta had come out today and went, nothing to do with me, it's all their fault, they're all weak, some of them won't be at this football club, I would love that. I would love that, because I was made of that stuff, and so would Dion. But a lot of the football world now would go, oh, he's threw his team under a bus.
I'm going then. I'm leaving then. You know,
threw his team under a bus there. That's the right thing.
Half them to leave,
in my opinion. My opinion, that's the right thing to say. If Mikel Arteta had a turn around and went, some of these players won't be here in a year's time because they're not for me, I'd be like that. Right.
Yeah.
Right, you're talking business
I remember when you guys were playing, managers sometimes would come out and say, they do not deserve to pick up their wages this week. I like them. Yeah, go on, you tell them.
But what a message...
But it's the world today, isn't it? Yeah.
It is the world today. But what a message it would be to the players, right? If the manager turned around and went, I'm going forward with this football club, I will be here for the next few years. Some of those players that play today won't. That's what I'd want to hear.
You know, just on that, Don, you know when you get a situation... Have you ever been in a changing room when a manager's not gone in at half-time and you're thinking, where's the manager? What's happening now? Who takes the lead then? Because he stayed out for a reason.
Players.
Well, yeah,
he's done it on purpose.
Right.
The manager sometimes at half-time, when your team's been that bad, he would have stood outside the changing room with his assistant manager, and they were just about to go in, and they'd have went,
right there.
leave them to it.
Yes.
Leave them to it, and they would have had their ears at the door.
That's true.
And if it's all quiet
With a glass?
yeah, if it's all quiet and all nicey,
Yeah.
then the manager comes in,
Straight
goes
in.
ballistic.
Yeah.
If you can hear the players sorting it out for themselves,
yeah.
he's like that, right?
I'm really,
He's a leader.
I'm
He's a
really
leader.
intrigued, and we can't answer this. What they do in public is a bit different to your day.
Yes.
But do you think that in private they say exactly the same things as they said in your day?
No.
You don't? You don't
No,
even think that
no,
Arteta
no.
would behave towards
Not
the
as
Arsenal
bad.
players
No.
in the way that Sir Alex might have done or Harry
No, because
Redknapp?
you can't, because
Because you think you lose them?
you lose them, and there's too many little factors where if you go too harsh on one player, the player will be like that.
Agent,
Get
me out.
Can you get me a move,
Yeah, he
please?
shouted at me.
Manager
shouted
shouted at me today.
He raised his voice.
Right, it's
Shouted.
ridiculous.
You know what happened? It did involve Arsenal. We were 2-0 down, Aston Villa.
Yes.
At Villa Park, we were 2-0 down at half-time to Arsenal. Bearing in mind it was Bergkamp, it was Wright, they were the best. They were brilliant. We were 2-0 down. We went in at half-time and we were seething. Myself, Merson, Southgate, Hugo Ekiod, God rest his soul, all Ginola, all those kind of players. And like you said, the manager didn't come in. For a good 3 or 4 minutes, you think, where's the gaffer? And that's when the players start talking. And you. And then David James walks over to me. Why aren't you scoring? I say, well, you save it going in the net. He comes and stands over me. I stand up. We're forehead to... Well, not forehead to forehead, because he's about 2 inches tall.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, don't hurt me. And you start having a bit of a fight, and a bit of shouting, man.
You vent a little bit and you get it off your chest.
And then you go out and perform better. That's what you need as players. If you don't hear anything, it's very much it's the manager's job to make us play better.
What was the full-time score? 5.
Beat them 3-2, Nick 2.
Nick 2.
3-2. That's the moral of that story.
That's the moral of that story. Let's talk about Diogo Jota, who is arguably Liverpool's most important attacker. I don't know.
Definitely.
Really? More than Salah?
He is, because I think he offers something different. And he offers a goal threat, and he offers someone that runs forward. When you look at the way Liverpool play, and Salah, who's been brilliant and got his goals, it's all done outside the box.
Look at Trent Alexander-Arnold.
When I watch, I mean, the ball is incredible. I mean, you know, you try and pause it just a second where Trent is just about to whip it in and say, right, you've got to whip that over fullbacks, over centre-halves, in between Cedric, the right fullback, right on the money, onto Jota's head.
It's not terrible defending, is it?
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with the positional play of the defenders at all. He has taken that ball, he's cut out 4 players in red and dropped it in between the full.
World class.
Dropped it just there where your
Look at that.
player
It's
was.
literally just dipped over Rob Holding's
World
head.
class.
It is world class.
That not many fullbacks can do.
No.
No, amazing.
And Jota makes it because he's the one, out of the likes of Mane and Salah and Firmino, he's the one that wants to be in the 18-yard box. He knows.
Yes.
He probably knows that someone might be a little bit more technically gifted than him, Firmino, maybe Salah. But he goes, do you know what? I'm getting in the box. And when crosses coming in, I'm going to be in that 18-yard box.
Because there's a chance.
Look how many chances he gets.
Exactly.
There's Alexander-Arnold. If his form continues in that vein, then it's probably indicative of where Liverpool are, that they're going to give this a really good go to get in the top 4.
Mark, he could have come away on another day with 4 assists.
Yeah.
It's not his fault that Mane missed chances and other guys missed chances around him.
Yeah.
His touch was sensational. He was high up the pitch where he likes being. His crosses were brilliant. You know,
Milner here should score.
See, that's the difference. You see the way that he played that ball back to Milner? It was just at the right pace.
Yeah.
This one here, look at that one, just at the right pace, safe side yet again. Just very, very good at what he does, and he knows what ball to play at the right time. Touch out of his feet.
Touch.
Not even looking, picks out his
brilliant
man.
pass.
4 assists.
Yeah.
Could have come away with 4 assists easy.
This one here, I mean, his reaction is better than Jota's reaction. He's celebrating, you know, doing exactly what he's taking to do.
This is for the third. Anticipates terrible pass from Gabriel. Keeps going. And what did you say? Jota in the.
There's not many English fullbacks. Reece James might put his hand up, but there's not many English fullbacks that can cross the ball like him.
Yeah. The bit that I managed to watch through my fingers, I did think, what's the referee doing?
Shocker.
What is the referee doing, Chris Foy?
Wow.
I'm not in a great position at the minute to talk about anybody's haircut. I think he's had a go at having a trim. He might have gone a bit short with the blade.
I don't.
It looks like he's a fan of Bronski beat from the 80s days. He's been looking at something.
Don't leave me this way. Yeah.
I think his wife started on the blade that was too small and had to continue going higher and higher.
But at what point there do you go,
all off?
Get a lot off?
Off.
It looks ridiculous.
Yeah, it did look ridiculous. Chris, have a word with him, will you, when you see him?
I will do. I've got to say, though, in fairness, Stuart, he refereed the game really well. You know, Arsenal, Liverpool...
good deflection.
Nice one, Chris.
It wasn't hard to referee it well, because only one team playing, wasn't it? The late game on Sunday came at Old Trafford. Manchester United taking on Brighton in the company of Jim Beglin and Peter Drury.